Hi, welcome to the Mohua show. My name is Mohua Chinappa and I am an author, entrepreneur and ex-housewife. This podcast is about everything from business to technology to arts to lifestyle, but done and spoken ईमानदारी से. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Vidhan Bhaiya. Vidhan is a young, driven individual who has already made a name for himself in the world of business and entrepreneurship. A recent chemical engineering graduate from the Northeastern University, Boston, with a Summa Cum Laude honor and a university scholar, Vidhan is the CEO of Dr. Brinsley, a startup focused on making performance footwear for diabetes patients. He also serves as the director for supply chain at CNE Limited, a specialty chemicals manufacturing company with a background in investing from his time as an investing associate at Pillar VC, a $30 million seed stage VC fund. It's no wonder that Vidhan has been recognized for his achievements, including being named in Boston Business Journal's 25 under 25, being a Curie Scholar, Huntington 100, and a Global Impact winner. Oh my God, that's a lot. So stay tuned as we delve into the mind and the world of Vidhan Bhaiya. So सबसे पहला सवाल जो मेरा है विधान आपके साथ, टेल मी द इंस्पिरेशन बिहाइंड स्टार्टिंग डॉक्टर ब्रिंसले और आपका मिशन क्या था इस कंपनी को लेके, बिकॉज डायबिटीज इतना बुरी तरीके से फैला हुआ है इंडिया में. एक तो लाइफस्टाइल रिलेटेड है, दूसरा है जेनेटिक, पर लाइफस्टाइल रिलेटेड बहुत सारे लोग सफर करते हैं इस डिजीज के साथ. तो क्या मिशन क्या रहा इसका?
This all started, as all good things do at an Indian wedding. I was studying in the US, and I had come back to India for the first winter break, and I had gone to a wedding where I saw my favorite uncle, who's known as the style icon of the family. And he was wearing his trademark, fancy suit, but very bulky shoes. And he looked somewhat timid and uncomfortable. He didn't want to get up from his table, and he went right at the back during the family photograph. So I'm just like, what's going on? And later, when I asked around, I found out that he was recently diagnosed with diabetic neuropathy, and he hadn't been the same ever since. So then I'm just like, diabetes, neuropathy, footwear, what are all these things? How are they related? And then I began to do some research, and I found out that diabetes is a sugar related condition, but it causes challenges in the feet. This is primarily because there is sugar buildup in the nerves, which are at the ends of your body, that is your hands and your feet. And due to the sugar buildup, your feet start to lose sensation, which is a medical term called peripheral neuropathy. And because of this lack of sensation, to mitigate any challenges associated with this condition, people are asked to wear special kinds of footwear.
How does the diabetic footwear differ from traditional footwear options in the market? And a little bit about Dr. Brinsley, because there is a huge gap. I mean, we just spoke and I was just telling you that my father had to get customized shoes, which is very expensive. And, being from a middle-class family, he just was trying very hard to use that as long as he can. So how does, your company bridge this gap?
Specifically, what diabetic footwear does is that it addresses the challenges with peripheral neuropathy. And after speaking to over 2,000 stakeholders involved in this space, which include diabetologists, podiatrists, patients, and leading members of academia, we identified 4 fundamental design goals. What does diabetic footwear do? Because there wasn't something which we could refer to ki diabetic footwear means these things. We had to sort of discover that. And the 4 fundamental design goals for diabetic footwear were to evenly distribute plantar pressure. That is, when you are standing, your pressure is put across the sole of your foot. B, to prevent any external shock, that is, hitting your foot to the side of a table, hitting your foot to the side of a door, things like that. 3, to prevent shear and friction, anything, any shoe bites, things like that. All these things are a no-no. And 4, to accommodate some of the bone deformities that are caused due to diabetes. Now, these 4 are important at the other fundamental goals, because what we're essentially trying to do is to create a protective shell for your foot whilst also not looking very bulky and looking like something that people want to wear. Because of this lack of sensation, I remember once I had a during one of my market research, I showed some existing footwear options, and people just like, Vidhan, I'd rather lose my foot than wear that. Just like, what are you saying? Just like process that. And that person later had a toe amputated because they just like didn't want to wear these footwear. Then I remember once somebody told me, Vidhan, I was walking in my house, and then I saw blood on the floor. I didn't know where it was coming from. They later turned their foot around and saw that there was a nail that had pricked into their foot, and they didn't even realize that this had happened. So that's how bad the lack of sensation can get. As a result of this lack of sensation, any small cuts, bruises, or wounds that one might face are turned into can often turn into ulcers, which can't be healed by the foot, and therefore lead to amputations. And so that is the risk that we are trying to mitigate through our foot.
Can you talk about the impact that Dr. Brinsley's footwear has had on the diabetes community? I mean, how many people have come back to you and told you about how it's made a difference to their lives? Because many people we know in India may not be able to afford this sort of footwear.
Yeah, yeah. So we've taken on a path to bring this footwear affordably to patients, and this happens through our strategy of primarily focusing on getting these to consumers directly, and also to work on any inbound inquiries that come in. This helps us avoid all sorts of. There's a lot in the medical industry. There's a lot of costs in the middle, and we have worked on eliminating all of these costs to get our products to patients the fastest and cheapest. There are design challenges which makes our components, our materials very expensive, and that's what we try to sort of pass on the benefits by removing everybody in the middle. So even if we sacrifice sometimes on scale, I think it's important that we get to the customers at a price that they can afford. With regards to sort of impact, I think what has happened is that we've seen a tremendous rate of returning customers. Our primary, like today we don't do any external marketing. All of our marketing is either inbound or organic or word of mouth. And I think that is a testament to two things. One is the need for such footwear, therefore people are talking about it. And B, the other kinds of people are people who have heard about us from their friends and family, and how it has sort of helped them, walk comfortably, how it has helped them, wear footwear that look just like normal footwear, because they're just like, Vidhan, I wore this footwear and today nobody asked me if I was diabetic. Because otherwise, existing diabetic options from like I can look at it, people can look at it from very far away and they'll know, oh, this is diabetic footwear, this person suffers from diabetes. Today, diabetes is not a it's not a disease anymore. It's a lifestyle problem. It's just a something that people have, and so we don't believe people should be stigmatized because of their diabetes, and our footwear helps them to do that.
So it's really, really interesting, the way the world of medicine and aesthetics and all of that are combined together in your brand. Maybe हमारे सुनने वालों के लिए आप थोड़ा सा आपके partnerships or distribution in hospitals and clinics उसके बारे थोड़ा सा, if you can just share a little information on that.
Number of leading hospitals have approved our footwear for our designs. These have been tested at using plantar pressure analysis at a large leather research body, which proved our claims of peak force reduction and plantar force removal and distribution across the entire foot. And then when we took it to doctor, people were very happy to work with us because they saw the need for a high quality solution, which is durable. And the reason some of the we are selling on all e-commerce platforms, NetMed, 1mg, Seniority, the Apollo Sugar website, Amazon, Flipkart, and so on. So that has been sort of a testament to our quality, and that the customers have been liking the products that we put together. And we hope to, but we've noticed that the largest number of customers are coming in through our website itself. And today we hope to become like the one brand where people, when they think about diabetes and diabetic footwear, they think about us in India.
Any plans for expanding the reach of Dr. Brinsley's products both domestically and internationally?
Yeah, so we are currently adding some new models to our range. Where the way where we want to exist is that we want to offer high quality options to patients, and where also functionality is kept at its core. And to do that, we're constantly doing research in kinds of preventive footwear today. Now, on the other hand, some other research that we're doing right now is with regards to customized solution, which is the next step. Once people start to have complications associated with diabetic footwear, they cannot and should not wear off the shelf footwear. And if there's something that you should take away from this podcast, at least from a medical standpoint, like if somebody has lost a foot or is facing a lot of foot challenges, off the shelf footwear is not for you. Please do invest in customized footwear so that you are able to prevent further challenges that have been caused by this. And so we are now working on figuring out a scalable solution to bring customized footwear to people, because today customized footwear, as you had mentioned earlier, is very, very expensive. 5, 6, 8,000 rupees for shoes and sandals is not something that everybody can afford. And so we are working on a couple of different options where we use some sort of augmented reality scanning of the foot, where we use some forms of 3D printing to print your insole. So we are experimenting with these technologies which focus on quick data capture, which help build out a customized shoe, and also rapid prototyping and manufacturing without the need for legacy manufacturing techniques. So we are working on these things, and once we are able to prove our designs, once we are able to medically verify our claim, we plan to bring these to market very quickly.
आज के ज़माने में कोई भी नया बिजनेस स्टार्ट करना हो तो टेक्नोलॉजी becomes a very huge part of the entire process. So can you just discuss the role of technology in manufacturing and the design process of Dr. Brinsley's footwear?
The way we have two parts to this question. One part of it is with regards to the design itself, and we followed something called the Stanford design thinking process, where this is a way of product design which is focused on the consumer and how we can design products that are uniquely suited to the customer's needs. And so there are 5 phases to this. First part of it is to empathize, and in this phase I spent a lot of time talking to all the key stakeholders: diabetologists, podiatrists, patients. What do all these people want from this footwear? Then we put that together to go to the second phase, which is to define. So what does this mean? What do the 4 fundamental design goals mean? Then for the third phase, I had to ideate. Okay, now we know what we are trying to do with this footwear. How do we build models that and choose materials that are able to address these design goals? And so for that, I spent 3 weeks in Civitanova Marche in Italy, where I spoke to everybody I could about footwear design, footwear components, footwear materials, to understand, what are the latest in shoe technology that I could use to address this goal. And for fourth phase, I was in India, where I was rapidly prototyping with our models, constantly testing it with customers, patients, to understand whether what we're doing is in the right track. And so we did that. And the last phase involves testing, where once we made our footwear, we gave it to patients, understood, look, does this work for you? Are you finding it like, so this ensured that our design process was constantly directly focused to the customers itself. With regards to the technology front, look, I think we've been trying to build a couple of new products which not just mitigate the conditions associated with diabetes, but also sort of try to see if we can bring in a therapeutic element to what we're doing. So not just prevent the risks, but can we start healing this? And so for that, we've been trying to implant sensors into our footwear. We've been trying to implant some forms of electronic inserts into the insoles that help reverse this condition of peripheral neuropathy. So we built out 2 of these products over the last 3 years when I was in university in Boston, and are currently testing our designs, because these are very large sort of claims that we are making. We should be the first in the world to be doing these things. And so I can't mention further due to patent protection regulations. But essentially, we're trying to build in wearables into our footwear, as we believe that is the next step to where we want to go.
This is outstanding, Vidhan, considering the number of people who have diabetes. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, they've just recently released the 2022 National Diabetes Statistic Report. It's alarming. The report estimates that more than 130 million adults, this is in the US, and in India itself also. I mean, every second person that we meet is, have got somebody who's got diabetes, in their family, or somebody that they've lost to a kidney failure. For me, I lost my father to kidney failure because of diabetes, and how, the entire disease affected him. There's awareness that's required, and we need companies like you to take things forward, because nobody wants to look fuddy-duddy with the kind of footwear that was available. And I don't think footwear was even discussed in the earlier days, for diabetes. They just did the amputation, and it was taken for granted. So, just for our listeners, I just want to reiterate that diabetes shoes decreases the risk of diabetic foot ulcers and reduces the risk of amputations. Properly fitted diabetic shoes offer support and protection that minimizes the impact on high pressure areas of the foot. So wishing Dr. Brinsley's Footwear a great success in a burgeoning new India that will soon learn to deal with many life-altering diseases as part and parcel of their everyday life. And I do hope, just like the way diabetes footwear is available soon, many other diseases, will also be looked at it in a holistic fashion, and people will not feel ashamed. And thank you so much for being in today's episode, and wishing Dr. Brinsley a fantastic future. We need more innovators like you in our country. Thank you for being on today's podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Mohua.
To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course on all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are The Mohua Show, where we talk ईमानदारी से.